much is history? How much is Shakespeare? How much is Hollywood? Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 facts the king got right and wrong. For this list, we're taking a look at the historical accuracy behind this Netflix drama about Henry V of England. In addition to delving into the film's plot, we'll also be touching upon William Shakespeare's Henriette plays that inspired this adaptation. So, spoilers on both fronts.
Ready for what awaits us?
Number 10. Henry V's relationship with his father could be difficult. Right.
My son, come in.
From the very beginning, it's established that Henry, Prince of Wales, or Hal as some call him, has a strenuous relationship with his father, King Henry IV of England. There is a bounty of bad blood between the two in Shakespeare's works as well. While neither the film nor Shakespeare got every detail about their dynamic right, it is widely believed by most historians that Prince Hal and Henry IV did not always get along. The two shared different outlooks on various political matters, which became more apparent than ever in the final years of Henry IV's reign. As his father's health deteriorated, Hal began to enforce his own ideals. What they disagreed about is where the king starts to take creative liberties.
You shall suffer the indignity of serving me. And wayward son you so revile. But know now you'll be watched over by an altogether different king.
Number 9. There was debate about who would succeed Henry IV. Wrong.
The time has come for us to consider the issue of my succession.
Despite not seeing eye to eye on certain policies, history suggests that Henry IV and Hal loved each other nonetheless. This is not represented through the king, however. In the film, Henry IV is so disappointed and distant with his eldest son that he tells him early on that his youngest brother, Thomas of Lancaster, will instead be a successor.
I will assume that this news comes as neither surprise nor disappointment.
In reality, Henry IV did discharge Hal from council in November 1411 and replaced him with Thomas, who was believed to be his favorite son.
You will not inherit this crown.
Nor have I sought it.
Even then, though, Hal remained first in line to inherit the throne, followed by Thomas in the event of his older brother's demise. Since they were actually quite close, it's also doubtful that Hal was so cold towards his father on his deathbed.
You feel this cold. Wretch.
Number 8. Henry V wanted peace and his father wanted war. Wrong.
You do not know war, Thomas.
I do know war.
You do not. You've been recruited to our father's madness.
As mentioned before, Hal and Henry IV had some political differences, but they are completely backwards in the king. The film depicts Henry IV as a stern figure who's prone to force, while Hal would rather find a more peaceful alternative.
Why are you here?
I will not allow this havoc to transpire. Come to see it stopped.
This is my battle.
If I have my way, there will be no battle.
Hal will do whatever it takes to prevent an all-out battle from breaking out, but is still ready to lead his forces into war if there's no other option. By consulting a history book, you'll find that it was really the other way around. Between the two, Henry IV was seen as the peacekeeper, while Hal strongly pushed for war with France.
This assassin you send can be taken as nothing other than an infant act of war. If this be your intention, I say let it be known plainly, and that you desist from this timorous slither in which you presently engage. If it be war you seek, send the full weight of your army.
Hal ultimately got his way not long after his father died, and he was crowned Henry V of England.
Ready the men to move. Waste no time.
Number 7. Thomas of Lancaster's death. Wrong.
Are your men ready for the day?
The king suggests there was a sibling rivalry between Hal and Thomas, the younger of whom is infuriated when his big brother steals his glory on the battlefield. Thomas is killed while fighting in Wales.
Your brother was killed in Wales.
And Hal is appointed the next king. While Thomas did die in battle, he wasn't a teenager, but rather a 33-year-old man.
No!
His death didn't take place in Wales, but in Anjou, France at the Battle of Beaujeu. Thomas was also still alive when his brother inherited the crown.
This is what will be spoken of tomorrow.
Thomas even took part in several battles against the French under Henry V's rule, including the Siege of Caen and the Siege of Rouen. While he never became king, Thomas was given the title of Duke of Clarence in 1412. Number 6. Henry V was a reckless rebel. Wrong. One of the reasons Henry IV deems Hal unworthy of the throne in this movie is due to his rebellious nature.
A new chapter of my life has begun. As prince, I spent my days drinking, clowning. Now I find myself the king.
When Hal isn't butting heads with his dad, he's drinking and goofing off with his subjects. After Henry IV dies, the prodigal prince steps up and accepts more responsibility. While this remains faithful to Shakespeare's portrayal, many historians would debate the notion that Henry V was a party animal. The film's version of Hal feels like a frat guy who spends less time in class and more time sleeping in after a bender.
What is it? Visit with your father. Go away.
In real life, much of Hal's teenage years were spent fighting for and alongside his father. Even by age 16, he was participating in his first major battle at Shrewsbury. Number 5. Hal married Catherine of Valois. Right. Following the film's climactic battle, King Charles VI of France and Henry V come to a peaceful resolution. As part of England's newfound union with France, Hal is to wed Charles VI's daughter, Catherine of Valois.
In marriage, it is most uncanny.
Indeed, Hal and Catherine were married on June 2, 1420. Of course, a few details about their relationship have been omitted and tweaked. For example, Hal actually thought about marrying Catherine much earlier, but Charles VI would not comply with his demands over territory and 2 million crowns. Whereas the film implies they were married shortly after the Battle of Agincourt, their union really took place 5 years down the line.
Votre Majesté, asseyez-vous, je vous en prie.
Vous êtes ravissante.
Merci.
This wasn't exactly happily ever after either, as Hal died 2 years later, never meeting their son, Henry VI. Number 4. The Dauphin's devious demeanor and downfall. Wrong. Most would agree that the most entertaining part of the film is Robert Pattinson as the Dauphin, also known as Louis, Duke of Guyenne.
Your little victory.
Pattinson plays Charles VI's son almost like a cheeky James Bond villain. But was this true to the real-life figure? Probably not. In The King and Shakespeare's play Henry V, Louis mockingly sends Hal a tennis ball as a coronation gift, although there's no concrete evidence backing this up.
I have not come to offer you surrender.
In any case, it's not like the Dauphin served first, as England's House of Plantagenet and France's House of Valois were already engaged in the 100 Years' War. Also, the Dauphin didn't die at the Battle of Agincourt. He wasn't even present at the battle, most likely dying of dysentery that same year.
Please speak English. I enjoy to speak English. It is simple and ugly.
Number 3. Henry versus Henry. Wrong. Not wanting to see multiple people give their lives, Hal presents Henry Hotspur Percy with a proposition.
Go to the rebel camp, deliver the following message to Percy Hotspur. Tell him that Prince Henry challenges him to settle today's score, man on man, he and I. We will fight in our army's places.
Yes, my lord.
The two of them engage in a sword fight, 1-on-1.
I will fight him, and I will defeat him.
Hal ultimately emerges victorious thanks to his dagger, single-handedly putting an end to Hotspur's rebellion. If this sounds like something out of a Game of Thrones episode, that's because no such duel took place in real life. Hotspur actually died at the Battle of Shrewsbury. While there's been some debate over how exactly Hotspur met his end, it's generally believed that an arrow to the face did him in. Weirdly enough, Henry V was present at that same battle where he was also shot in the face with an arrow, nearly killing him. Number 2. Sir John Falstaff. Wrong. One of the most prominent characters in the film, not to mention Shakespeare's plays, is Sir John Falstaff.
The thrill of victory fades quickly. What lingers long after is always ugly. Never again, I say.
Stop talking, old man, please. Please stop talking.
I will never stop talking now.
Whereas Falstaff is a chubby comedic character in the Shakespeare universe, here he's solemnly played by the hunky Joel Edgerton. The king depicts the knight as Hal's close friend and champion who dies in glorious battle. In Henriade, Falstaff is rejected by Hal after becoming king and unceremoniously dies later on. So which version is more accurate to the real-life Falstaff? Neither, because John Falstaff did not exist. Although Falstaff isn't real, Shakespeare initially intended to name the character John Oldcastle, an actual friend of Henry V. When one of Oldcastle's descendants complained, though, Shakespeare changed the name to Falstaff, and the rest is history. Well, historical fiction.
We need a front line to draw them in.
Cannot be you.
The idea was mine. Some man must lead the first push to sell it well. My men have been assembled, and I cannot in good conscience send them out there to realize my speculative dribble without getting muddy alongside them, can I?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Henry V won the Battle of Agincourt. Right.
Let us make famous that field out there. This little village of Agincourt.
It only makes sense that a movie entitled The King would build to an epic final battle. Despite being vastly outnumbered at the Battle of Agincourt, Hal leads his English forces to victory, triumphing over the French army.
I've only ever hoped for one thing! To see this kingdom united under this English crown!
While the 100 Years' War was still far from over, the English did win this particular battle. Henry really had a disadvantage, with only about 5,000 men on his side. The French, meanwhile, had somewhere between 30,000 and 100,000 soldiers. Rain had left the ground soggy, however, causing the French to stumble into battle. It didn't help that the French wore such heavy armor. At the end of the day, the English's longbow arrows and Henry V's leadership left the French with mud literally on their faces. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.